Superintendent Dorland, thanks for doing this today. Tell me, are you excited to go back to school? We've been kind of going on this theme of really the first year that really fully we are not talking about masks. We're not talking about a lot of restrictions related to the pandemic. So it's kind of like full steam ahead, move on maybe, or what is the theme, an overriding theme for you right now heading back in?
Yeah, we're very excited for what will be a more normal school year post-pandemic, as you know, this moves into endemic phase. And our theme this year is the launch of a new strategic plan. We've taken stock of where the district is at, what student needs are there and staff needs are there post-pandemic, and we are ready to thrive. And so our theme is Jeffco Thrives. And it comes with the launch of a new strategic plan that's really primarily focused on our learners, our future, and making sure that students have extraordinary student experiences and a real culture of instructional excellence.
Can we break that down a little bit further? Are
Sure.
there specific goals when it comes to literacy, math, high school graduation, or any other specifics like that?
Yes, all of the above. We are really excited to be rolling out literacy curriculum in all elementary schools this year, and we have a goal around making sure that all third graders are proficient in reading by the end of third grade, which is a key milestone for students on their way to graduation. We also know, as many districts across the nation have been finding, that the impacts of the pandemic in terms of learning loss have been greater in the middle school level, especially around the content area of math.
Interesting.
And so we have, we are also rolling out a new math curriculum, so high quality resources for teachers and students. And we will be doing high dosage tutoring, K-12, with our ESSER funds to support learning loss. In particular, we are focused and zeroing in on middle school math. But we will have other opportunities at elementary and high school for high dosage tutoring as well for students who really need to make up for some lost learning during the pandemic.
Great to hear. Actually, right as we'll be going back to school in Jeffco on Tuesday, next week we also get the results of the Cmas scores, or the media is going to get those
Yes.
will be released. You may have already seen them. Is data informing a lot of your decision making this year?
Absolutely. And one of the trends that we're seeing in our data is that our elementary students appear to be rebounding to post-pandemic levels of achievement at a faster rate than our secondary students who are in our middle schools and high schools. And this is not just a trend that we're seeing here in Jeffco. We're noticing it in our district data as well as our state level data that we've been able to preview. But it's a national trend that other districts are seeing as well. So that has driven much of our decision to invest in curriculum and high dosage tutoring in the areas where we are investing.
Makes sense. The school closure issue is one that it has gotten a lot of attention in every district almost, and nationwide. Certainly I understand parents, and I'm sure you understand parents may be emotional about when it comes down to their particular school. As you look to the end of the month and talking about this more and making those recommendations, what do you say to parents who are concerned about their neighborhood schools closing?
Yeah. So I'm a Jeffco mom, and I know how difficult this issue is. We have a lot of pride and community that are part of our schools. And so this is a really difficult issue. At the same time, we have situations in many of our schools in Jeffco where the student experience is not extraordinary because of extremely low levels of enrollment. And so if we're able to combine some schools and have a more robust enrollment, then we solve issues like having split grade levels where second and third graders are in a classroom together, where we have part-time enrichment and electives opportunities for students like art, music, PE, where we can ensure a digital teacher librarian. Before and after school programming is an issue in schools with extremely low enrollment. And so the real goal is making sure that we're providing a thriving school experience for our students and our families. And we want to do this in a way where we are present with our community, where we have processes and procedures put in place to support them through it. And that's the plan. So on August 25th, the staff We'll be making a recommendation to the Board of Education, and then we will engage our communities between August and November. And in November, our board will be making the final decision.
Thank you for that timeline there. We're going to talk a little bit about transportation, but has the district explored any options to make it more convenient for families to get to different schools if their school closes?
Sure, yeah, we will definitely be still transporting families to their boundary neighborhood school, as we always have. And as you know, we have a staffing shortage, like all districts, around drivers. So if you want to be a bus driver in Jeffco, we're here and we're hiring. And we are exploring actively ways to attract and retain bus drivers. We have made progress this week with some of the routes and making sure that everything is covered. In addition to that, in Jeffco, we currently have over 100 start times and end times in our schools, and we are going to systematize that in 23-24 so that we have more consistent start and end times, which provides for equity with instructional time for kids, planning time for teachers, and it aligns to adolescent brain research, so it's much healthier for our high school students to start a little later. And it will also help us with our efficiency with transportation and the staffing challenges we have with drivers.
Excellent. Because I don't know the start times, I did want to clarify real quick. Are Jeffco, any of the high schools on that later start time yet, or are you all, this will be a full overhaul to those high school start times?
Because we have over 100 start times, it will be a full overhaul for most of our schools in terms of the start time that they have.
Got it. That way I don't have to look at every one. But,
yeah, you don't have to.
Talking about the bus driver issue, Chalkbeat had a good article today about school districts here facing the biggest issues with bus drivers and special ed teachers. I mean, would you say those are two areas where it has been hard to hire? Absolutely.
And on the special education front, we know in Jeffco that we have declining enrollment. We talked about that earlier with school consolidations. As we do that work, we know that we will inevitably need to also reduce staff. If you have fewer students, you have fewer teachers. One of the things that we are working on is giving our teachers who might be displaced by one of our school closures the opportunity to have the district pay for an endorsement in an area where we're having a hard time staffing: special education, secondary mathematics, and secondary science. And so if they're willing to have an endorsement, go get an endorsement, have the district pay for that, then we can get them into one of the positions where we do have an opening, even if the current position that they're in might no longer be available because of a school consolidation or budget reduction.
Great.
So we're hoping that we can really make some headway with that, and take care of the best and brightest that are already in Jeffco and keep them with us.
Absolutely. Bus drivers, some of those areas where you've increased pay. At this point, is there anything else you can really do, or are we just at such a crunch between other companies that need to hire drivers as well? We know that's you're competing with so many other industries, other districts perhaps too. But it's a problem for every district. So are we at the point where it's just, nope, this is going to be a constant issue, or are there any more plans to do any more to recruit?
Yeah, of course, we're constantly working on recruiting fairs and attracting folks to what really is a very flexible and part-time position in our district, and frankly, a position where there's a lot of opportunity to have very positive influence in the life of a child. They're the first person that a student sees as they walk on the bus in the morning, and the last person they see when they drop them off at home or at their stop. And so it's an awesome opportunity for somebody to really have an impact in our community, and it's part-time and flexible. We are working on looking at attendance incentives. So because one of the other challenges not only is if we're low on staff, if people are sick or absent from the job, then that provides even another layer of impact. And so we're looking at attendance incentives. We are also looking at differentiated pay for routes that might be more difficult to staff. So Jeffco is a large geographic region, and we know that sometimes we have positions in our support professionals up in the mountains that are more difficult to staff than on the Front Range. So we're thinking about that. We don't have any plans right now, but it's something we're looking at.
Talking about it, yeah. Speaking of teachers and all the staff, it looks like there is an agreement on a teacher raise.
Yes.
$50,000 for a starting teacher.
Yes.
That was a pretty significant 14% increase, I believe.
It is a significant increase. We are very excited about coming to agreement with our Teachers Association and transitioning to a new salary schedule for our teachers. We also are very thrilled to be able to have a large compensation increase, not only for teachers, but also educational support professionals and our administrators. We have been behind in the market with compensation on the Front Range as Jeffco for many years. And the increases that we've been able to provide for all of our employee groups over the last 2 years are creating a much more competitive marketplace for us, not only so that we can attract the best and brightest, but also so that we can retain and honor and respect the best and brightest who are already part of Jeffco and committed to our community. So we're really excited about that. The new teacher salary schedule starts at $50,000 a year and goes to a little bit over $100,000 at the top of the range. And for our educational support professionals, in the last 2 years, we have gone from a starting salary of $15 an hour to $17 an hour. And in the 23-24 school year, that will go to at least $18 an hour. So really excited to be able to also take care of our lowest wage earners and make sure that they're more competitive in the marketplace here in Jefferson County.
How with everyone raising salaries to some extent and inflation continuing to go up, how are you as a district able to pay teachers this much, and is that changing your own budget and the way you have to work the numbers?
It is changing our budget. Our board adopted a deficit budget in June, and there will be a supplemental budget approval that we bring to them in September to afford the increases that we've recently agreed to. And the school consolidations piece is something that's going to help us level set our budget and address that deficit. And we may have additional reductions that we have to look at in the coming years. That being said, when a district has declining enrollment, they also have declining revenue because that's just how we are funded from the state and from other revenue sources. And so we're going to be looking at how to address that deficit from multiple angles. And I believe that it's work our board is committed to doing, it's work I'm committed to doing, and I'm committed to doing it with people and with voices at the table.
Thank you. A little bit back to the declining enrollment. We know this is happening nationwide. Birth rates are a big factor behind that. But how much has the enrollment here in Jeffco declined? I think I read it was stable between this year and last year. I don't know how the pandemic impacted the numbers as well. But when we're looking at more of a 5-year trend, has there been a significant decline?
Yes. Our enrollment, the high point of our enrollment was in 2001. And we have slowly been declining since then. I would say since 2017, we've seen pretty dramatic declines. Over the last 2 years during the pandemic, we've seen a 5,000 student decline. We have room for 96,000 students, give or take, in our schools, and we serve about 70,000. So we have about a 30,000 student gap in capacity. And so we have to level set our building footprint, make sure that we are effectively and efficiently utilizing resources to provide the best programming experience for students and families and staff, and make sure that we're responsible stewards of the resources that we do have so that we're using them in the best way possible.
Beyond that, demographics are changing. It looks like you're going to be tapped to talk about these issues on a nationwide level. How does that change the whole calculation for education here? I know you guys have, more tech-oriented or vocational-oriented programs than ever before, and things like that. What other discussions are you guys having about just the changing makeup of our student population, our workforce, preparing those kids for the workforce, and those types of things?
Yeah, we are, in this first phase of regional opportunities, we are taking a look at our elementary schools. And in phase 2, we are going to be having a more regional conversation around the K-12 experience by articulation area. One of the things we're very interested in talking to our students and our families about is what type of programming are you choosing? We have 44% of our families in Jeffco actually choice out of their boundary school. And so we would like to better understand why people are choosing to schools that they're choosing into, what programming is attractive to them, and especially as we think about the world that our students are going into, which is volatile and uncertain and ever changing and quickly changing more than when we graduated.
Yeah.
We need to think about high school models that really prepare our students not just for four-year colleges, but military, two-year associates programs, and the workforce. We have been connecting quite a bit with our Economic Development Council and our industry partners here in Jeffco to better understand what they need from our graduates as they come out of high school with a diploma. And many of them want to go directly into the workforce. And many of our employers in Jeffco want to hire them. Right. So we're trying to figure out how do we need to make sure that our high schools are providing the types of learning experiences so our students are well prepared for their biggest dreams, whatever that might be, when they leave Jeffco Public Schools.
Well, starting the new school year, I guess just finally, where will you be on day one, and what will you be out there looking for, and kind of how are you kicking things off here?
I'm going to be in schools. They're going to tell me which schools to go to, and I'm going to show up with bells on. Back to school is my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
And so I just can't wait to say hello to students, to say hi to teachers, to be in classrooms, and to really celebrate coming back more normal this year than in the last two.